All right. It says we're live, so I'm going to start talking as if we're live. Welcome, everybody. We are back.
Highly professional outfit here. Highly professional.
The button go red. Today on the B2B Growth Lab, we are talking about how if you have a balanced funnel, you have predictable revenue, ending pipeline imbalance. We're going to rip that whole concept of funnel apart, or at least that's my mission for today, because I think it's misunderstood and mistaken. But when you have revenue systems, you can have pipeline health. When you have those two things, you can forecast. The fact is, too many businesses overload one funnel stage and neglect the others. And I think you'll find that in the role-based stuff that we're going to pick apart today. Those obviously create bottlenecks, creates nightmares in forecasting, and it clearly makes missed targets. So today we're going to break down how to design a balanced funnel and, integrate your team, all the people involved, so that every stage is supported. And that's how you get consistent revenue. That's how you have predictability. That's how you know what's going to happen next quarter and the next quarter and the next quarter. So outline wise, we're going to diagnose where you're leaking, how to stage leads for throughput, how to build systems for consistent nurturing, and talk about models that don't break under pressure. But I think there's going to be some tangents. I really hope so anyway.
Oh, don't worry. I'm sure I can figure something out.
Exactly. Yeah, I guess, to lead off on this stuff, since I live and breathe funnels, I'm going to start with the mantra, and that is that social media is for branding, websites are for legitimacy, and funnels are for sales. But what gets missed most of the time is that people think about the front end funnel only and never, ever put any time, effort, thought, whiteboarding, vision boarding, anything into the back end funnel, which is everything that happens after a transaction, where statistics say most companies lose at least 30% of all that front end effort. And that's just the beginning. That's without going into all the statistics and data and other stuff that, Rob, Zach, you guys have to share. Secondarily, if you don't have a plan to put a bucket and get $3 out, it's not even a business. It's a hobby. And my job is to turn that 1-to-3 ratio into a 1-to-5, and then help you scale up in each of those 5 verticals: leads, conversion, sales, honoring, fulfillment. So a lead dollar turns $3 of revenue. A conversion dollar turns $5 of revenue. A sales dollar turns $11 of revenue. Each of these is an opportunity. And if you don't start thinking that way, there's nothing that you can fix. One of the things I think that I'd pass off to Rob about that is if you don't start thinking about your people that way too, then you're immediately losing. So it's not just a system, it's a process and the individuals involved. So yeah, that's a long lead in, but where do you guys want to take this?
Let's talk about call it the people consequence of doing this poorly, right? You opened a lot of the business consequences of doing this poorly, but how long do you think you'll be able to bullwhip your talent pool by laying them off, hiring them back, laying them off, hiring them back? Because all you do is chase the funnel at the top and then flip the lever to go ops full time and forget about the funnel. And that volatility will lead you to make terrible, terrible things, decisions, right? Impacts on the people in your business, right? You will give them whiplash. It will be awful.
But wait, Rob, I was watching the scroll the other day and I saw that I don't need people at all.
Oh.
I'm going to replace them all with AI.
Sure.
This is the okay.
There we go.
Especially, there we go, right? All right, especially in marketing, this is the biggest possible lie. And Jacob, I'm sure that you can back me up on this. AI is for automating processes when it comes to marketing. You can do some AI generated outreach, but the problem is that AI cannot inherently do insight. And insight is what drives sales. Insight is what gets a person to say, no, I'm totally good, or change from saying I'm totally good into I need a solution. There's a light bulb moment that goes off in their head. That's an insight. AI is not very good at insight. AI is really good at mimicry. It's really good at connecting dots in certain areas or like reflections, things like that. It is not good at generating new insight. And so that's why AI, you can't replace your marketing staff in the way that you think you're going to be able to replace your marketing staff. You're not going to be able to say, I'm paying for ChatGPT 5 and I'm paying for this, that, and the other. I don't need a marketing team anymore. That's a complete fabrication, not fabrication, but misunderstanding of the situation and the technology. You still need the people. You're still going to need your team to tell the AI what to do, to generate the insight. And unless you realize that now, you're going to waste a lot of time and spin your wheels for a really long time trying to get your AI to do all your marketing for you.
So I'm shocked you're so passionate about this. Please tell us how you feel.
Well, sit back here a minute, Rob. No, I get so many people sending me emails saying, are you using AI for marketing yet? AI can replace your marketing team. And it's all of the internet gurus who 6 months ago, 3 years ago, were selling something totally different. And then 6 months or 3 years before that, they were selling something totally different, right? It's just professional salespeople who are really good at developing some kind of schlocky, like one-off product. And then they have to pivot and develop another schlocky one-off product. And it never gets the job done. Because they don't care about you. They don't care about your business being successful. They care about their bottom line. And so they're just lying through their teeth. Anyways, that's you got a good one.
They're overestimating its capacity and ability.
Yes.
The best analogy I've come up with so far is that purpose-built, I'm going to repeat that one like 3 times, purpose-built AI tools, right? And this is just the landscape we're in today. If you're watching this replay 3 months from now, it will have changed. 6 months from now, it'll change drastically. But today, a purpose-built AI tool is like the bit that goes between the screwdriver and the screw. And if it's the star screw and the star bit, and they're the right size, good times. And if it's the square screw and the star bit, there's a lot of swearing. Maybe a little bleeding knuckles and nothing else. No results.
Yeah. And I completely agree with that. I think that a lot of these cold outreach people who are trying to pitch you on something using AI in your marketing to solve all of your problems. 6 months ago, 3 years ago, they were selling on webinars. And before that, they were selling on, this is my system that I use to appear on podcasts and make you money. And before that, it was who knows what, right? But like, it was never what you said, Jacob. It was never, help me understand what type of screw you need or what type of screw you have, so I can tell you the kind of drill bit that you're going to need to solve this problem. It was never that. And I think you're completely right that AI is the interface, right? It's the drill bit. You still need someone who's going to be saying, we're building an armoire today, or we're building a chair today, or we're building a house today, or we're building freaking Babylon 5 space station today. But you're gonna need someone to control that screw, that drill bit, and to identify, this is what I need. And I guess when I say AI doesn't do insight really well, what I mean is that AI doesn't do a good job of identifying which drill bit it needs.
And then again, I wouldn't pay it to think. I pay my staff to think.
Right.
I wouldn't pay AI to think. It's not there yet. If we go to the front end funnel for a second, because I promised to talk about this and also complain earlier. The ADA, right? It's 120 years old, right? Attention, interest, desire, action, right? In RevOps or stuff, we talk about how you take a lead and you turn it from a market qualified lead to a sales qualified lead. That's the conversion process. And too many people, back to your rant for a minute, Zach, are all on selling the lead and never talking about whether or not they convert, right? Like it's just how things are sold on volume and quantity and that kind of stuff, so they can throw big numbers there. For me, the simple fact is, if you look at that traditional model, you have some form of traffic that's coming in, then you have to qualify it, then you have to confirm its interest, and then you have to put it in a human-to-human scenario so that they can get all their questions answered and partnered with the right thing. Now, we put out 17 voice AI builds in the last month.
Wow.
And it's not taking over all of that. It's taking over a tiny part, which in the sales process is called a triage call. After they say, I'm interested in a digital fashion, somebody reaches out to them and says, hey, I just wanted to confirm that you actually really are interested.
Mm-hmm.
They say yes. It says, great. What's the problem you're trying to solve? They say that. It says, awesome. Would you like to talk to somebody about solving it? If they say yes, they end up in calendar, and then they get reminded 3 times to show up to that appointment. Yeah. It's doing that job really well. But that's just a tiny little piece of this entire sales process. And that's the only job I'd give it, to be honest. Right? I wouldn't give it any of the other 5 jobs I've talked about. And more importantly, you still need somebody who really understands sales to be there in that meeting to actually make the sale happen. Because otherwise, automation was already a problem, but now AI puts automation on steroids, and it just reminds me, I'm a big fan of Looney Tunes, but it's the Leghorn getting shoved into the mailbox with a rake handle. You don't do that.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I think that a lot of people do that. And the thing that I love what you were talking about is, notice that there's human insight on either side of that interaction with the artificial intelligence. There's the insight that the human has that says, gee, I have a problem, or maybe I have a problem I need to have solved. Mm-hmm. And there's the insight on the other side of the salesperson who's saying, I think this is your problem. Would you agree? Great, let's work together to solve it. Give me money and I'll help you solve your problem.
And it's transcribing that triage call conversation into the CRM so that a human being can read it back to them during the sales call and be like, I just wanted to make sure that this is why you're here, versus back to the way it's being sold. Nobody shows up to that call with that salesperson and being like, oh, I already answered all those questions to the AI. Why don't you get out of my way so I can shove my credit card into a hole?
Yeah. And I think that connective tissue is often what's missing when we talk about marketing pipeline, marketing funnels, things like that, right? I love what you were saying when you're saying social media is for branding, Websites are for legitimacy. Funnels are for sales. I think you're spot on. I think you're absolutely right there. For me, I think that the overarching job of marketing is to help drive sales, right? They're kissing cousins with sales. But I think that part of the job is to help that potential customer get what I would call the first thought, that insight that says, I have a problem here that needs to be solved. Because unless there's a problem, they are not going to pay you money to solve it. And if you have to convince them that there is a problem, then they aren't going to stick around. So I'll give you an example. I just finished listening to this book called Selling Sexy. It's about Victoria's Secret. Absolutely fascinating about the business side. One of the things that they missed as I was listening to this book, the connective tissue that they missed was they thought they were just selling sexy. That's not what they were selling at all. They were helping women feel confident in their own bodies and sexy when they wanted to. And they missed that, and they missed the thread of how are women changing what it means to feel sexy in their bodies? Where do they want that messaging to come from, right? And what happened is in about 2020, they started getting hammered by all of these very high-profile feminist figures who were saying, Victoria's Secret, you aren't listening to us as women. You're portraying sexiness through the male gaze. We don't want that. And so what does Victoria's Secret do? They get rid of all of the brand equity that they had with the Victoria's Secret fashion show and the Angels and this whole idea of sexiness. And they go with this diversity is sexy. And they lost $2 billion within 3 years. I did the math. It's $2 million per day. That's a lot of money, right?
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. And so it was like, if they had realized going all the way back that women were hiring Victoria's Secret to feel comfortable, confident, and sexy in their own bodies, all they have to do for a marketing campaign is do diverse women sharing how Victoria's Secret solved that problem for them. And then women can connect those dots because they're hearing those stories, right? But we miss that because we try and remove the human from the equation. But at the end of the day, it's the human factor that actually makes that marketing successful. It determines that pipeline. It determines not the pipeline, but the funnel and how that funnel should be structured.
Yeah, very well said. And something to touch on, a lot of the stuff you're talking about falls on the post-transaction side of the funnel, meaning after the very first time they buy, where lifetime value is, right? I think maybe the thing that they lost track of was not selling that first piece of lingerie, but the 12th and the 27th. And this is the place that I keep returning to because I feel comfortable, secure, supported, like all those emotional things that actually matter when it comes to used brand equity, but I'd say brand loyalty.
I would agree with that. And the other thing that they did, and it sounds, I don't know, they hired a bunch of Harvard professors to come in and consult. And the problem with that is that the Harvard professors came in, and they removed the human from the equation, and they focused more on the data. So they got really into the quant side, which is a very business thing to do, right? They got into the quant side and they removed the qual side, right? Yeah. But qualitative data is the thing that connects the dots for the quantitative data. It makes the quantitative data make sense. And so because they removed that qualitative data and they weren't thinking about why are people buying underwear from us? Why are people buying sportswear from us? Why are people buying shirts from us, right? Because they didn't ask that question and think about that. I mean, they're a diminishing fixture in our society.
Right. I don't, like, you just brought something to mind for me, and that was, if I was in that situation and I could get past what I saw on the stage or on the screen, which is like this supermodel style marketing, but still walk into a store where I could walk up to somebody who was built like me, right? And be like, oh, you're here, I'm here, what should I buy? Like, even that may be a step forward that got missed. And
yeah,
person thing.
Not a quantum leap to go from what they did with the evolution of the Pink brand into athleisure wear, which is the current trend.
Right.
They could have beat Lululemon to the punch, right? They had market.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a massive oversight, not understanding where the market was going,
right,
and who they were. They had the anchor, finish, like, go. I don't know what was so hard about that.
Right. Well said. That's brilliant, Rob. Especially if you consider a trusted brand, like, out of the stuff that I guess they do stock, like, how many hours a day are you actually going to wear that stuff? So why not fill the rest of those hours with options?
Right. It's a product expansion. It's just a build out, right? Like,
no, that's brilliant.
And I think that this is what they were missing, right? Is it's like they weren't necessarily thinking, I don't think at least they were thinking about, you know, how do we fill more hours of our customers' day with Victoria's Secret items? I think that they also weren't thinking, why do people hire us to like our products? You know, that confident, comfortable, sexy sort of thing. I think that they were thinking is, how do I sell more underwear? 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 And that's not how people buy.
Well, it's the right question to ask, but to your point about quantitative versus qualitative, you have to then, that's the goal, yay, want to sell more, then you got to understand why people buy it from us. And the answer is not always in the data, right? I mean, like, it's sometimes the why is because it makes me feel good. And when you're in a super intimate setting, like underwear is, right? It's hard to be more intimate. There's only one store I can think of that's more intimate than an underwear store. The human cannot be taken out of it. You can't just go quant. You got to like talk to human beings.
Yeah.
And I guess to start hammering those last few nails in the Victoria's Secret coffin, I wonder what the Kaizen was like. I wonder how many of those professors or anybody in management was like, let's go talk to the girls who were on the sales floor and ask them their opinions, because they're the ones who are actually putting our stuff in the hands of other women.
Yes. Well, and I'll tell you right now, that was not a very common occurrence in the brand. Just based off the book, that was not a common occurrence in the brand. What they were doing is they were paying buyers to travel throughout the world to go to luxury boutiques, buy what they were selling, give that to designers, have designers copy it and make it for cheap. That's what they were doing, right? So how do I sell more underwear? How do I have better margins? It was all of that stuff, right? Which is important in a business. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you don't need to be aware of your margins, or that you shouldn't have a good strategy like that and try and maintain those trends. But again, at the end of the day, it's like, if your sole focus is, how do I take more money from this person, not how do I help this person solve their problem better, faster, cheaper, then it's a problem. You're removing human emotion. And by removing that human emotion, you're removing the human element from that situation.
And there are a lot of places in the world that you can go to if you want to get a luxury brand knockoff, right? Like purses or watches are the most common examples, and they're very easy to find. And it reminds me of Seth Godin. I forget which book of his it is, but what you're describing to me, that methodology he calls the race to the bottom.
Yes.
Yep.
And that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. It's a race to be the cheapest option, right? The lowest price. Your customer doesn't care about that. In fact, what a lot of researchers have found is that your customer will pay more for your product or service with fewer features and benefits if it does if it solves the problem better, faster, cheaper than anyone else.
Right.
And people miss that.
So since, Zach and I have been monopolizing this, Rob, how do you get that out of your how do you get that out of your people? How do you, take those steps or even start thinking about, like, the example we're using today is so obvious to me anyway, because it's the people who are literally putting in the hands of the customer, right? It's such a physicalized version, but where did they miss the boat?
Who's most equipped to sell more? The frontline salesperson. Right. Back to that point of talk to them about A, how they do it. B, what could I give you that would make you more successful? C,
Yes.
what's the voice of the customer? What does our product line need that we don't know about that you hear about every dang day? Right? That's a well of information. If you talk to them, just do an undercover boss thing, right? Like, talk to those overwhelmingly people who work in the front lines of that store, and talk to some customers, synthesize little word cloud, right? Some qualitative analytics, right? Like,
Yeah.
what is it? And what's the gap? And what are our competitors doing that is causing us to lose share? Maybe it's that they have buy 3, get the third one for a slight discount, right? Bulk, scale up, average size of order, right? Pricing strategy, right? Like, maybe it's little things like that. Buy in the store today, one price, order at home, different price, right? Incentive to go now. So I think they just, to Zach's point, too much in their head, not enough in their people. The faith in the women who are there when the sale happens.
Yeah.
That's whoa. Go stand in the store, talk to the people.
The
Right?
hindsight opportunity is there. I'd love to do the math on what they spent on that consulting, and then what would have happened, just something you've taught me in past episodes, Rob, redeploying that spend to their minimum wage staff.
Yes.
Right? They may have gotten like twice as much qualitative data, meaning super high quality information at half the price.
Right. At half.
Yeah.
Right. It's pennies.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny thing about opinions when you ask people for it, if you create a little bit of psychological safety, maybe through anonymity,
right,
or just being a safe person, right? Really wanting and not punishing the answers.
Right.
They will welcome the opportunity to unload and feel good about contributing, about sharing, about clearing the air, getting things off their chest.
Yes.
I've been saying this for years. We need a blankety blank. I've been saying this for years. The such and such in the fitting room is garbage, right? I've been that they wanted to, they've indeed most of the time been trying to tell you, but no one wants to hear it because they don't want to hear the complaining. Well, the people
Right.
on the front lines who are making it happen, they know where all the bodies are buried. They know what needs to be fixed. They know the key to the next sale, right? Like,
Brilliant.
oh, yeah.
Well, and I think too, you would be shocked, and I'm sure that you gentlemen have experienced this as well. As a business owner, as a manager, you would be shocked at what we as consultants are able to get out of your team that you think they would never in a million years tell us. And it's like, how did you get them to tell you that? They would never tell me that. I asked them.
Right.
And I listened to what they had to say. And I treated what they had to say, their feedback, as if it had value.
Well,
Right?
you also come with a luxury that makes that possible, right? Because there is not, think of the parent-child power dynamic.
Right.
Who's got to live with the consequence, and where is the power, and who is, so a third-party consultant absolutely will hear more, right?
Yeah.
So there's benefit to outsourcing strategically when you need to get more truth, right? That's why a lot of times people outsource secret shoppers and people like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get more valid results.
Yeah.
Well said. Really well said.
Yeah, I work with a partner that does customer service analytics. Think you hit a QR code on your phone and click on Zach's face, and it says, "Did Zach do these 5 things?" Right? Really easy, simple, seconds of interaction. And then analytical on the back. Driving employee behavior in this increasingly Bezos-driven market, right, can be a competitive strategic advantage, right? Thinking what would sell more? Well, I could just order this online, or the service here was fan-freaking-tastic, right? That's why people go to the store. That's what increasingly how you can compete in those environments.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've been using a dental office as a scenario when I'm discussing AI voice, for example.
Yeah.
And the reason I do it is from personal experience. Like, I've lived in a few different cities, so I've had a couple different dentists, but they all seem to have the same age of an administrative lady behind the front desk who knows everybody's name, and she would love to actually talk to you, except for she has to keep interrupting the conversation to pick up the phone. And the point of installing an agent in that scenario is then that lady can do what she's amazing at: build those relationships, serve people tea, like give shoulder rubs, sit on the couch and crochet. It doesn't matter. I guarantee you the bottom line.
Which dentist are you going to? I got to go to that one. Get a shoulder rub? Come on.
Exactly. Like, their bottom line goes up because the waiting rooms now become an oasis.
Yeah.
And I think there's so many lost opportunities inside of businesses for doing that by putting the right tool in the right place and freeing a human being up to be a better person to their customers.
Yeah.
I like that, and I completely agree. I think that we have become like a child with a hammer. And when you have a hammer, every problem looks like a nail.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is that quantitative data has become so proliferated that we have forgotten the importance and the value of a human element, because, well, I can get like a 0.5% boost in my sales if I do this one thing because it's correlated with sales and blah, blah, blah. No, stop. Because you're passing up potentially, 5%, 10%, 15% growth by focusing on the human element and not trying to manipulate using numbers and coerce using numbers more sales out of the suckers, right? Like, Walt Disney and Disneyland was so successful because he didn't call his patrons guests or marks, which was the common language of the amusement park at the time. They called everybody Marks, which is con language, right? Imagine calling your customer the Mark. That's like, I'm going to con them out of their fortune. Right? I love heist movies. They're always the Mark. He called them guests.
Yeah.
And he wanted every single interaction to treat them like a guest and to be magic. And that to me is the difference. And now look at what Disneyland has become. It is like a freaking rite of passage. I have 4 kids. I have 4 kids under 10. They are constantly begging me, Daddy, when are we going to Disneyland? And damn it, we're never going until Disney apologizes for supporting Uyghur genocide in Xinjiang province. But that's neither here nor there.
Now people gotta abandon the podcast.
Yeah.
To go Google that. Like,
Yes.
Sorry, guys. Sorry. But point is, because Walt Disney treated people like a human, Disneyland it is the revenue center of all of Disney. Everything that Disney does is to drive towards 2 things: merchandising and the park, or merchandising at the park. But it's like, that is what Disney does, because that's where they make their money. They don't make it off the movies. They really don't. They make their money off of merchandising and licensing and getting people to go to the parks.
it's good marketing.
So what should we leave people with today?
Go ahead.
I was thinking at some point in this call, we might be able to talk maybe formulaically about balance and about how you don't ever so overload yourself with the do part that you forget the go get hunt part, right? Like, don't get so busy in the bottom of the funnel that you forget about putting stuff in the funnel. So I've talked to so many entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, like consultants, etc., and they don't want to say no to business. They want to say yes. They end up overwhelmed. They stop prospecting. They stop hunting. They stop lead gen.
Yes.
And then when all those jobs end, they're like, oh, crap. Right? Now they got to go hunt again. It's 6 months before they get the next batch. So that's volatility is just awful. So I'm wondering what you guys think about, like, for smaller businesses, maybe it's SaaS, startup, right? 10 people, 12 people, percent of time of total labor you should spend on different parts of the funnel. Could we ballpark this with some like uncertainty around it?
I break it into the 5 equal parts, right? Now, this is not a absolute startup. This is an existing thing, right? So you have leads, conversion, sales, onboarding, and fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have leads, spend the first 2 hours a day getting them, right? That's one of the first things I learned years ago. So then you do that. Then what do you do? Follow up with the next hour of the day. Now you're working on leads conversion. Now, by doing that, some sales are going to occur, right? And if you just do the math on it, as you start to service clients because you've converted them, now you're onboarding, you're doing fulfillment. If you just work with those 5 hours a day, which is a 25-hour work week, you should still be spending that first hour of the day generating leads, and then the next hour following up, and then the next hour, right, servicing what happens after the transaction. Like, that's the math that I start to work with. And that's before you can invest in systems. This is just all manual labor mode, right? But that maps out a 25-hour work week, which I think is the foundation, because don't worry, if you are an entrepreneur or Like the rest of the time will fill up, whether you want it to or not. And so you want to have those productive hours be the functional thing. When I look at a schedule that's based that way, then I start thinking about the 20% time of Google and stuff like that, because if you carve that out, then you can start thinking about the actual experiences you're having, right? Or the conversations you're failing to have as a business owner, right? As you point out, Rob, with the people of your team who are taking on these roles, and go, how do we make it better? How do we improve? Not the lead generation, like a better ROI, but better conversations with these leads, better connections with these people, better, qualifying in the sales process such that onboarding isn't so garbage because they're like, this isn't what I signed up for. And right. That's how I tend to think about it, is really baseline mathematically, and can I figure it out on my fingers?
And I agree with that. I think that when you're talking about the quantitative side of business, that's the quantitative side, right? Like what is the napkin math, very basic, that I need to figure out in order to drive the end result that I want, and then execute on it. I think that the human element is also a component of that, which is, who do I need to be talking to in order to understand these people and why they're buying from me? Payers, deciders, users is the framework that I always talk about. But at the end of the day, again, it's who is actually buying from me. What are they buying? What is the outcome they're trying to create? Not what I think they're trying to buy. And this is the hardest part. This is the hardest part, because every time I talk to someone and I ask them, why does your customer buy from you? They'll always say something like, well, they want this product, right? Or, they really want this service. No, that's the service, right? What is your customer buying from you? What is the actual outcome? Well, they want more money. Are you sure about that? Are you sure that's not just you reading into what they're saying, right? And so the issue is you also need to be having those human conversations that aren't sales conversations, because those sales conversations are tainted. They're tainted.
Okay.
And it makes it so that you can mistake the signal for the noise, and mistake that the service is the thing that they're buying when it's not.
I like it. You don't want that answer to be because they have no other choice.
Right.
Bingo.
Right.
Or because we're really, really cool. So.
I like it. Yeah. Thank you for that, Rob. That was a really productive question.
That was a great question.
Mm-hmm. We should let you run these things. Anything else anybody wants to add before we start to sign off today?
I feel like my ubiquitous thing is don't be a dick, right? Just like treat your customers like human beings, and they will love you. They will crawl over broken glass to give you money, right? Like, treat them like human beings, show you actually care about what they're trying to do, and help them do it. And they will put their head through a freaking brick wall for you, right? Like, that is how you build that recurring revenue, and how you build a really strong brand and customer relationship.
And perhaps doing that to your team as well will give you similar results.
Yes.
Give a little bit of a shout out here as an endorsement to what you just said, Zach. Parker King agrees that human emotion matters, that people matter, right? In the age of AI, we can't forget that at the end of the day, very often people buy from people. People like people. Humans are a social animal, and it's more than just death scrolling.
Yeah.
Yes.
And to throw another catchphrase into the mix, the business that gives the most value wins, not claims
Yes.
or claims the most volume, but
Right.
actual value.
I like that. I think that's important. Volume does not equal value.
Yeah.
That's right.
I think that's really, really insightful.
So let's throw some more shade, right? So
Mhm.
I was at a gas station. I bought a Dubai chocolate bar. Volume does not, right? I said, what? WTF all the hype, right? Like, so what? Threw in the trash, right? Like, it's a
Yeah.
fact. Yeah. Like, okay, whatever.
Love it.
Yeah. There we go.
Thank you guys so much. These,
This was a blast.
yeah, more and more fun every time. Thanks to you who hung out with us. Thanks to Parker for showing up and commenting. The thing that has us get the comments works. So that's cool. And yeah, we'll be here next week for more silliness, at least.
Yeah, you show up. We'll give you a shout out on the show, right? Like, yeah, bring it.
That's
Bring it.
right.
Love it.